Hi, if you're thinking about buying an integrated fridge freezer like this one, then there are quite a few things to consider before you buy one. So what I've done is I've come up with 7 things to consider before you buy an integrated fridge freezer. So let's have a look. Now the first thing to consider, and one of the most important aspects, is the type of hinge arrangement that it offers. You've got 2 types. You've either got fixed hinge or sliding hinge, and I'll show you this one first. This is a fixed hinge model, and clearly I've not got the door on it at the moment, but with this, basically a fixed hinge means that the furniture door will fix to the front of the fridge freezer. It's completely independent from the cabinetry around it. And the next one is the sliding hinge, and what this means is that this furniture door is actually attached to the cabinet. It's not actually screwed on to the fridge freezer itself, and what happens is that you have these sliders. So as you open the door, then you'll see that it moves along this sliding bar here, and this is how it opens the fridge freezer door. Now there's not really a huge advantage of either system, either fixed hinge or the sliding hinge. You do tend to find that if you've got the choice from the beginning, then normally sliding hinge is a little bit easier to install because the physical door is actually attached to the cabinet as opposed to putting it on the fridge freezer. So for installation purposes, the sliding hinge can be a bit easier. But I point this out because if you've got a current fridge freezer that you're having to replace, then you have to look at that because that is one of the most important features. Now the second thing to consider are the dimensions of the fridge freezer. The majority of modern fridge freezers are 54 centimeters wide and 177 centimeters high. So they are designed to sit inside a 60 centimeter cabinet. I say that's about modern fridge freezers. Don't assume that the one you've got is the same dimensions as a new one. Always check, just get a tape measure and measure the internal aperture just to make sure that the new one will fit in. There's nothing worse than having a new appliance arrive, the installer's there, and then they find it doesn't fit for some reason. So the third thing to think about is the ratio of the fridge to freezer. Now on the whole, you've got 50-50, 60-40 or 70-30. And clearly the higher the number, so if you're going up to a 70-30, then that's a much bigger fridge and a very small freezer like this one. I'll just show you this if I move the camera down a little bit. So with that one, that's a 70-30, and that's got a very small freezer at the bottom. As you can see here, it's only got 2 boxes at the bottom, but the payoff to that is that you've got a much larger fridge. Whereas with this model, this is a 50-50 ratio, so the main advantage is you have got a much larger freezer, so you've actually got 4 drawers in here compared to the 2 on the NEF one. The trade-off on this one is that you've got a smaller fridge. So it really depends on the ratio that you want. Sometimes what we find is that people have got a separate freezer. You might have a separate freezer in a garage, in which case this might just be an overflow one, but you get a really good size fridge. Sometimes if it's people's main units, so you've not got a separate freezer, then you might want to consider, say, a 50-50. But the reason I mention this is if you are replacing one, and if you have got the furniture doors to fit already, then that's one of the most important things to consider. And if you are doing this yourself, then you might need to refer to some of the manufacturer's technical drawings. These are normally either in a brochure towards the back, or if you go onto the manufacturer's website, then they will all be on there. But these can be very important. So if you just have a look here, then you've got all the dimensions and you've got the sizes of all the doors as well. So if you have got doors on your current fridge freezer, then just make sure that they fit. So number 4 in the list is, do you want the unit to be frost free? And when we say that, we mean that the freezer at the bottom, do you want it to be frost free? So do you want to have to defrost it or not? For the majority of the people, they say, well, no, I do want it to be frost free. But there are some downsides. The first thing is that you can lose a little bit of capacity in the freezer on a frost free model. They can be a little bit noisier, and also the running cost on a frost free model can be a little bit more than a non-frost free. So it is something to consider, but I'd say for the majority of the people, they'd go, well, all of those bits, I'm not too worried about that. I just want it to be frost free. I don't want the hassle, so let's go for a frost free one. So number 5 in the list of things to consider is the running costs. Now, because the unit itself will be plugged in all the time, hopefully, then you want to make sure that what you're buying is energy efficient. So hopefully it doesn't cost you too much electricity. And the way to do that is to look out for one of these. These are the energy labels. And the reason I've got 2 is because at the moment we're in a transition period where the energy labeling system on fridge freezers is changing. So if you're watching this video in 2020, then chances are look out for one of these. Or if it's from March 2021, then it'll be one of these energy labels. It's displaying similar information as to how much energy the fridge freezer will use, shows whether it's frost free or not, and noise levels. But really look out for these and compare them between different models, because you can find sometimes by paying a little bit more initially to get a more efficient model can pay dividends by saving money over the years with running costs. So number 6 would be the inside furniture of the fridge freezer. So these would be little things inside. It's going to be things like the number of shelves that you get. It'll be the size and dimensions of the cellar boxes. Some models come with things like wine racks and bottle racks. So these are really things to consider, and they're not as important as some of the other things like the type of hinges, but again, it's something to look out for. So number 7 on the list is going to be the cost of the unit. Now for some people this is the most important thing, but some of the earlier steps I mentioned, things like the hinges and dimensions, you do have to consider those as initial steps before you start thinking about the cost. But clearly for a lot of people the cost is going to be very important. You will find that prices on integrated fridge freezers vary a huge amount. On the whole they do tend to be a bit more than freestanding units, but you have got the main advantage is that hidden behind your nice furniture door. What you will find is that guarantees come into it as well. Some manufacturers will offer promotional guarantees, things like the 5-year guarantee, which not many manufacturers do, but some offer that. Most will offer a standard warranty of between 1 and 2 years. So I hope you enjoyed this quick video on the 7 things to consider before buying an integrated fridge freezer. I'm sure I might have missed things. I know there are other things that I could have talked about, but I think for the majority of people those 7 things are the most important things. Please give us a thumbs up on a YouTube video, click subscribe and leave any comments below. I'd always ask for comments on the video itself, whether it's good or bad. Also, if you've got any questions on any integrated fridge freezers, then leave it in the comments below. Or if you have got one and if you think I've missed something off as say a number 8 step to think about, then leave that in comments below as well. Thanks for watching.